The federal government approved a data center on public land and never asked the city next door. Now a Nevada town and national conservation groups are racing to stop it before it becomes the blueprint for the entire American West. Meanwhile, a developer who promised not to touch a single drop of the Colorado River is suing for 287 million gallons of it, and the nation's largest power grid just warned data centers they could be forced offline. Just outside Boulder City, Nevada, the federal government approved something no one else in America has seen. A data center on public land, without a single new public meeting. The Bureau of Land Management signed off on the Townsite Data Center, an 81-acre project in the Eldorado Valley desert, by amending a permit originally issued for a solar and battery farm. On Monday, the Center for Biological Diversity and the Sierra Club's Toiyabe chapter filed a formal appeal, arguing the agency unlawfully sidestepped environmental review. Boulder City's council had already voted unanimously to appeal and to seek a stay halting construction, saying the public was shut out entirely. City officials call themselves a test case, because if this shortcut stands here, developers could repeat it on federal land across the West. That fight over process is now colliding with a fight over water. In California's Imperial Valley, the developer behind what would be the state's largest AI data center once promised his project would run on recycled wastewater. In his words, "It does not touch a single drop of the Colorado River." Now his company is suing the Imperial Irrigation District for access to 287 million gallons of Colorado River water a year to cool a 330-megawatt facility. After two cities declined to sell the project their wastewater, developer Sebastian Rucci says there is no other choice. The plan would retire irrigation on farmland, roughly the equivalent of a 160-acre farm, and redirect those water rights to servers. In a valley where farming jobs and river allocations are already stretched to the breaking point, and where courts and agencies fail to settle these disputes, voters are stepping in directly. In Sunbury, Ohio, a small city northeast of Columbus, residents gathered 450 signatures, nearly 3 times the number required, to force a charter amendment onto the November 3rd ballot. If it passes, no data center in Sunbury could draw more than 25 megawatts of peak power. That would effectively kill the $2 billion Amazon Data Services campus planned for the city's new technology park, and slam the door on every other hyperscale project eyeing the area. City Council certified the measure unanimously, and Mayor Joe St. John confirmed 351 signatures came from verified Sunbury residents. For the first time in Central Ohio's data center boom, the final word will belong to the voters themselves. Behind all of this local resistance sits one hard physical reality. The grid is running out of power. PJM Interconnection, the largest grid operator in America, serving 67 million people from Chicago to Washington, announced Monday it will launch an emergency auction in September to plug a nearly 7 gigawatt generation shortfall for 2028. The costs of this so-called reliability backstop procurement will be charged to data centers themselves. And PJM went further. Data centers that fail to secure enough generation could face involuntary outages, temporarily dropped from the grid during peak demand, as soon as mid-2027. The warning lands just days after a massive block of data center load abruptly disconnected on July 22, causing a voltage disturbance felt from Washington, D.C. all the way to Chicago. That scramble for power is now stalling one of the biggest builds in the country. In Doña Ana County, New Mexico, Oracle's 2.5 gigawatt project Jupiter, a 1,400-acre campus being built by Stack and Borderplex Digital Assets to host AI. Infrastructure for OpenAI has hit a wall. For the second time, the state land office has rejected the 17-mile green chili pipeline that would carry 400 million cubic feet of natural gas per day to power Bloom fuel cells on site. The land commissioner cited heavy water use, added carbon emissions, and too little revenue for the state, saying approval would not be in New Mexico's best interests. The rejection makes Oracle's August 15th in-service target all but impossible, and may force the pipeline onto private land, adding months of new negotiations. State and local lawmakers are watching all of this and reaching for the pause button. On Monday alone, 2 Midwest cities froze data center development. In Otsego, Minnesota, the city council held a public hearing on a 1-year moratorium on new data center applications, designed to buy time to write uniform standards instead of reacting to each project one by one. And in Lansing, Michigan, a 182-day moratorium officially took effect the same day. After a 7-1 council vote, that freeze runs through late January while the city studies zoning and infrastructure impacts. They join a growing list. North Mankato and Carleton County, Minnesota, have hearings of their own scheduled, as the Midwest becomes the newest front in the movement to slow the data center boom down. And if you think none of this touches your life, check the price of computer memory. 1 gigabyte of RAM that cost about $2.80 last year now runs around $12. A 6-fold increase, because memory manufacturers are redirecting their production lines toward high-bandwidth memory. For AI data centers, the same demand wave is rippling through the entire hardware market. Gamers, laptop buyers, and small businesses are paying more because hyperscalers are buying first. At nearly any price, analysts say the crunch will not ease until new fabrication capacity comes online. And that is years away, not months. It is the clearest example yet of how the data center boom has stopped being an abstract infrastructure story and started showing up on ordinary receipts. Yet none of the friction, not the lawsuits, the ballot measures, or the price shocks, has slowed the money. Meta and BlackRock announced a venture to develop a $14 billion data center campus in El Paso, Texas. Funds managed by BlackRock will own 80%. Meta keeps 20%, contributing land and in-progress construction worth about $2.3 billion while BlackRock puts in $4.9 billion in cash, backed by $12.5 billion of debt. The campus, already under construction, is designed for a full gigawatt of compute capacity, with operations expected in 2028. Meta will lease the entire site back under an initial 4-year deal extendable to 20. It is Wall Street and big tech splitting the check on American AI infrastructure, 1 gigawatt at a time. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, subscribe, leave a like, and drop a comment. It helps us cover more of these stories.